Failure is pretty inherent. If anyone's built a model aeroplane before, they'll know what it feels like to crash it into the ground. Every video takes probably about 5 weeks to make. You have to be thinking about the video first. You design the aeroplanes around that.
When did you have the feeling that the channel took off?
I mean, I don't think it ever really felt like that.
Is it still possible for a YouTuber to make it?
I took a screenshot of that video and I saved in a folder that just said success.
James and I both know that sometimes you can spend weeks on a project just to watch it crash and burn. So I knew I had to bring him on the channel because he's taken the niche hobby of model airplanes and turned it into Guinness World Records and millions of views, all while risking total failure with every single project. Hi, my name is Valentin and I'm trying to figure out what it takes to succeed as a YouTube creator today. So I had to ask James, how does he keep creating even if failure is inevitable? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If I look back at your channel now, it seems like this idea worked from the very beginning. Like even the first video has like, I think 60,000 views, which
Yeah,
it's surprising, but also is it actually the case? Like did it find an audience from the very beginning, or is this just like, you know, through being on there for 10 years or 8 years?
No, it definitely wasn't like that from the beginning. I mean, yeah, the first video has about 60,000. I think that one just hit a chord where it did quite well with people who are not aeroplane nerds because it was just a very generic, like, how-to video. No, I had to keep practicing and keep learning, and that's been a complete constant through the whole, journey up to now, which is every single video you're learning from and improving on and slowly increasing your average views in terms of like some videos will do really well, some will do not as well, and over time that graph just keeps going up in terms of the average. But initially the first few videos, first like 20 videos probably only had maximum of about 1,000 views, something like that. I think I remember the first one that went viral in my head, which did 2,000 views in the first 24 hours. And I woke up in the morning, I looked at the app and I went, 2,000 views? That can't be right. So it definitely didn't happen straight away. It took about 3 years to get to 100,000 views. I took a screenshot of that video and I saved it on my computer and it said in a folder that just said success. Because that's what I was aiming for, that kind of thing.
Oh man, I love that. So, we should all have like a little success folder, I think.
Yeah.
But you mentioned something there that the first video struck a chord outside of the aeroplane nerds. But that is kind of the niche you carved out for yourself. You make videos about these engineering challenges, model airplanes, model cars, but make them appealing to a much larger audience. How do you think about that, making a niche topic, appealing to a larger audience?
The content being niche in terms of not many people make model airplanes really as a hobby from the wider populace of the world. It can't be a very big percentage, but a pretty big percentage is people who like things that just go fast, or they like seeing cool things. I think I have always wanted to get the content I make out to the widest audience possible, and that might have come about from originally, as I said, I used to make lots of little films when I was a child and growing up, and when I got to the point where I started the YouTube channel, I thought wouldn't it just be amazing if I had 10,000 people who are subscribers who, anything I made, 10,000 people would watch it. As a artist, that would be incredible to have like 10,000 people look at your work or whatever. And definitely in the more recent history of the channel, I've been very much going for that. So, going for big things, making things bigger in general makes them more impressive and more interesting.
So in what ways do you, I don't know, I guess test your ideas or pick what you work on next? Because it is always these big projects, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, often I will talk to my friends and, my friends who are not into this stuff specifically. So we'll hang out, go to the pub, whatever, and they'll be very interested in what I'm what I'm working on. But if I have to over explain something and go, oh yes, so I'm building a Magnus Effect helicopter, and they go, what the heck's the Magnus Effect and why do I care? And they just get really bored when you're explaining it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good test for, well, it's a good result from a test to show you that maybe that's not actually the best idea that you could be doing that month.
I like that idea of just sharing your idea with as many people as possible and see how they react to it, and maybe rephrasing things, because like you said, like the Magnus Effect, like what do I care? What is that even? But
and when you say rephrasing something, actually the Magnus Effect has done really well for me as a topic on my channel.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe rephrasing it by saying, oh, I'm making an aeroplane that has spinning wings. It'd be interesting to get someone's,
that I can feel it in myself. Like immediately, I'm like leaning in, getting more curious. Like spinning
How does
wings?
that work? Yeah,
never seen that before. Yeah. All right. But on the topic of ideas, you're not just making vlogs every week. You are physically building objects that have to move, right? To boil it down,
fast.
fast, or are extremely big. What is like the larger system that you even use to pick ideas, or what you want to build? Like, do you think about the next 12 months, or just like one project at a time? Like, how do you navigate this labyrinth of ideas?
I've got a Notion database and got ideas in there, and they sort of like filter down from being just ideas to being ones that are sort of in production or that kind of thing. And then you can really sort of work on stuff far in advance, so you can start getting materials in for that sort of project. If you need to build a rocket in 2 months, you might need to get rocket engines in. They're going to take a while to be delivered, unlike maybe other things that you can get on Amazon next day delivery. So there's a lot of organization that goes into it, and a lot of these projects, they do take an awful long time to come into fruition, and every video takes probably about 5 weeks to make from start to finish, but some of those can be spread over a longer period of time. I mean, like the most recent project I've been doing is the Jet Car 3.0, which is the most recent land speed record attempt for a remote control car. That project has been going on for about 12 months now.
Wow.
But then other projects, they can sort of start at the beginning of the month sometimes if they're a smaller project, and sometimes that is the better way to do it, because then you can really just take what you've learned from the last video that's just been released, like the other side of the weekend, and then you can really go, right, I've learned this from the response from that, let's do this next project based on the findings from that. And that's definitely been the way historically I've done it. And that's meant that the channel has evolved quite nicely and quickly, because you're having generations kind of of content. I don't know if I'm explaining this well, but you know what I mean. But evolving stuff, you can evolve it faster if the last one's gone, and you can just start on the next one. Now
with the YouTube side of things, then do you have some sort of like consistency schedule? Try to have one video every month, or is it the project? I guess the question really for me is, does the project, the build, come first or the video first?
It's always the video. I think, the obviously I'm massively into engineering and building stuff. That's definitely half of it. But you have to be, I think, successful on YouTube with making YouTube content where you're trying to hit like an average of 1 million views every video. You have to be thinking about the video first entirely, in terms of what will someone find interesting, and then you design the whole story around that. You design the aeroplanes around that. You figure out what the aeroplanes are going to look like. You have to design it that way around, rather than going, I want to build this thing and let's try and make a video about it.
And so when you started, you said, wouldn't it be cool if 10,000 people subscribe to the channel, right? And now we're talking about like, we want to hit an average of 1 million views per video, right?
Yeah, so it's weird.
It is weird how fast that changes. But I'm also curious, when did that change for you? Like, when did you have the feeling that the channel took off, that you started to gain some traction with what you're doing?
I mean, I don't think it ever really has felt like that, because it's just been a very slow, constant curve, you know, in terms of the progress of the channel. There's never really been a massive moment. I mean, there have been little moments, and maybe they were bigger back then. Like, I did a collaboration with Tom Stanton back in like 2018, and then my subscribers went from just over 1,000 to 4,000 in 24 hours. So obviously that was quite
a big jump.
A big jump. But yeah, in terms of just the majority of the history of the channel, it's been just very steady progress.
Was there any point then for you where you could do this full time, where it was paying your bills and we're just like, okay, yeah, I don't have to worry about it, this is my full-time gig now?
Yeah, that definitely happened. I mean, obviously at some point I went full-time, because I'm full-time now. But yeah, I went full-time in 2021, and I think, you know, I could have gone full-time a lot earlier than that, but I wanted to be very, like, you know, comfortable in terms of just making sure it was definitely the right thing to do, and I wasn't going to be stressed too much, and I could be really creative then. So yeah, from there it's developed, and I've now got a full-time employee, Emma, who is an engineer, and she does lots of the sort of more technical stuff, the maths, and I, you know, don't have to think about that anymore, and that's why my math skills have stopped working.
A common piece of advice when it comes to YouTube is, or to social media, is just like, make as much as possible, right? And you're one of the, you know, types of creators who can make one video each month. Was there ever a point where like one video like completely underperformed? Or do you take some kind of measurements to, or do you have some kind of certainty that it doesn't happen like that? You know, there's something to be said about volume and having more shots on goal. But, you know, if I would love to make one video a week, I would love to make one video a month and know that it hits 1 million views, right?
I think with having more shots on target, yeah, there's something to be said for that. You definitely need some kind of volume, but it can be quite a low volume. I mean, if you have 12 pieces of quality content a year, like I try and do, and I've tried to do that for the last, you know, 5, 6, 7 years, you can learn an awful lot from that. It doesn't have to be just throwing a massive amount of stuff at the canvas and seeing what sticks. You can learn from every single video. Start a video, work through the whole of the month on the video. Even if you're working full time, you can be doing it in your spare time, like I used to do, and get to a point where you've posted that video, you learned something from it, and you can apply it to the next one.
And one constant that like kind of runs through your channel, and like is a very common thing with engineering channels, is this topic of failure. Because like you set out to achieve something, and it doesn't always work out the way you think it is. And like
that's what makes the successes even better, though.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because I was going to ask, like, YouTube is also so loaded with failure, or with like learning from lessons. What you said earlier, like you make something and you learn from it and you grow. But it's, you know, it can be emotionally challenging. So how do you deal with that? How do you think about failure, even in, I guess, on both sides of things?
I mean, I think, failure is pretty inherent to engineering and building things, especially model aeroplanes. If anyone's built a model aeroplane before, they'll know what it feels like to crash it into the ground at 50 miles an hour and have nothing left. But I think how I deal with failure is I try and avoid it at all costs if I can, in terms of, you know, I need to have various outs in terms of the video and the story. Like, you know, for instance, my most popular video so far, the aircraft carrier video, where I built a giant remote control aircraft carrier and tried to land 3 different airplanes on it. We decided to take 3 different airplanes because then you've got 3 chances, you know. Thankfully, I actually managed to land 2 out of 3 on the first 3 attempts, so that was fine. But we could have just completely failed, and and I could have just not actually landed anything at all, and that would have been a massive fail. But you've got to kind of design around it and all that kind of thing, and make it as likely as possible, whilst also obviously having the challenge in the first place be challenging. So it's entertaining. It's not easy.
If we take your video, a recent video where you attempted another land speed world record with, you spend a whole year building this car, and spoiler alert, the video concludes with you not taking chances and not attempting another run. On the other hand, you were saying like the video always comes before the project. How did you make that decision to, play it safe, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, that one is actually a bit different, actually, because usually I think I would have just gone for it. And, you have to just try. But that's been more of that's been a bit of a different project, really, in terms of it's this thing I want to have around for lots of videos. But generally, you've got to just kind of go for it for the best video outcome. I think Colin Furze says you have to have something spectacular happen. Either it has to be spectacularly bad or spectacularly good, and there shouldn't be any sort of middle ground, because that's just mediocre. I think that latest video might have actually been a bit mediocre in my opinion, because it didn't have that. But we did want to try something different and show a part of a story, not just the end result.
But one other thing that is kind of really visible in this video is the RC community. Because you bring Matt from DIY Perks with you, there's other people attempting different records, and there seems to be just like this constant exchange, helping each other, those kind of things. How is the community for you? Like, how do they come together to make projects happen, or how does that shape what you do?
There's been lots of people that I've worked with over the years who've made things possible. And I mean, even just like local people who have fields that we use for testing and that kind of thing. And they don't have to be in the RC community. But yeah, it's definitely a team effort. And that ROSA event, the Radio Operators Scale Speed Association, is a prime example of a fantastic community where people are coming together. There's so many very helpful people, not least the organisers who actually allowed us to run this car, because it was quite a different car. It was quite it could be dangerous if you didn't know what you were doing. So yeah, they worked with us to get it scrutinized and allowed to go on the track, and got the insurance in place and stuff like that, and actually got the runway in the first place. So yeah, I definitely couldn't just do this on my own. So
one thing that is more and more on my mind is how YouTube has changed. We just had a big 20th anniversary thing last year, and there is people like you, the more or less individual creator who just makes cool stuff and reaches a wide audience with it. But then there's also more and more like businesses and legacy media coming in and just like using it as a distribution channel, as a sales channel. And I'm kind of curious to get your perspective on where we're going, and is it still possible for like an individual YouTuber to make it, to get millions of views and build a loyal audience?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's absolutely possible for that to happen. I think forever people have been saying that, maybe I've missed the boat on this, or you've missed the boat on this if you want to start being a YouTuber. I think, if you look at the statistics, the number one streaming platform in the world is YouTube, over Netflix. Netflix is number 2, I think.
Yeah.
If you look at where most people are watching their content, it's on YouTube. The people who are succeeding at the moment in all sorts of niches that I watch are just absolutely killing it. There's types of content now on YouTube that you just couldn't make on TV channel. Sure. There's a guy who I absolutely love watching called GeoWizard, and he's just a guy with, you've probably seen him, yeah.
He's just a guy with a GoPro. YouTube. Yes.
Yeah, he's been going for ages. I met him actually in 2019 when I was just getting started at some event, and he's just the same in real life. He's such a nice guy, but he's just got a GoPro and he sticks it on his head and just trespasses through people's fields and through, all over the UK and that kind of thing. There's something incredibly realistic and authentic about it. And, that's the case for so many different niches. I mean, I think that YouTube's big enough as well, though, to answer your question, to have to properly answer your question, to have everyone on YouTube. There's not just, here's the homepage of YouTube. It's tailored to you, so that because there's billions of people who use it, you're going to be able to have millions of different creators and types of creators.
So, but if we think about a YouTube creator who is stuck somewhere between, let's just say, 1,000 subscribers and having millions of views on their video, and they just, I don't know, feel overwhelmed or just like think the algorithm is unfair or whatever excuse it is, what would you tell this person?
I think, what's worked for me is just being very consistent. And, I've had this upload schedule of one video per month, pretty much for the last 5, 6, 7 years. So it's been, just about being consistent. And I've just seen through my evolutionary process that you can evolve your content.
And so with where you're now, with it's the channel seems very stable. You know what you're doing. It's a very clear thing, Project Air. What does success actually look like to you?
Thank you. It does feel fairly stable, yeah. Although sometimes it's still like, you're still trying to get the average views in this sort of Goldilocks zone, or above, and sometimes it doesn't always transpire. I think success really is just about, for me, being able to do the things I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to build amazing, cool projects and, build the biggest remote control space shuttle or something like that. And, now I've got that on the horizon that you can, and I'm going after that kind of thing. And having the resources and the space to do it, that's what it's all about for me.
What I learned from this conversation is that slow progress compounds over time. And unlike the common advice of making as much as possible, James is proof that you only need 12 videos a year and you can still make it as a YouTuber, as long as you treat each one of them as an opportunity to learn. But what I really love is how specific his version of success is: to have the resources to make bigger builds. And he isn't the only creator struggling to find a balance between building something he wants and something that gets views. In this video, you can see how a crafting creator keeps her spark alive.